Chapter 13 of Tante. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Dion Gines, Salt Lake City, Utah. Tante by Anne Douglas Sedgwick. Chapter 13. Gregory went down to Cornwall again, only 9 days after he had left it. He and Karen met as if under an arch of infinite blessings. He had his cable to show her, and she hers to show him, and although Gregory did not see them as the exquisite documents that Karen felt them to be, they did for him all that he asked Madame von Marwitz to do. I give her to you. Be worthy of my trust. Mercedes von Marwitz. His read. And Karen's, I could only yield you to a greater joy than you can find with me, but it could not be to a greater love. Do not forget me in your happiness. You are mine, my beloved child, not less, but more than ever. Tante. Karen's joy was unshadowed. It made him think of primroses and crystal springs. She was not shy. He was shyer than she, made a little dumb, a little helpless, by his man's reverence, his man's odd sense of the beloved's dawn-like wonder. She was not changed. Any change in Karen would come as quiet growth, not as transformation. Gregory's gladness had not this simplicity. It revealed to him a new world, a world newly beautiful, but newly perilous, and a changed self, the self of boyhood, renewed yet transformed, through whose joy ran the reactionary melancholy that, in a happiness attained, glances at fear and at a climax of life, is aware of gulfs of sorrow as yet unsounded. More than his lover's passion was a tenderness for her, and for her unquestioning acceptances that seemed near tears. Karen was in character so wrought and in nature so simple. Her subtleties were all objective, subtleties of sympathy, of recognition, of adaptation to the requirements of devoted action. Her simplicity was that of a wholeheartedness, unaware at high moments of all but the essential. She had to tell him fully, holding his hand and looking into his eyes, all about her side of it, what she had thought when she saw him at the concert. Certain assumptions there gave Gregory his stir of uneasiness. You were caring just as much as I was, in the same way, for her music. What she had thought at Mrs. Forrester's, and at the railway station, and when the letters went on and on. She had, of course, seen what was coming that evening after they had been to the Lavingtons. When you didn't understand about me and Tante, you know, and I made you understand. And then he had made her understand how much he cared for her and she for him, only it had all come so quietly. I did not think a great deal about it or wonder. It sank into me like stars one sees on a still lake, so that next day it was no surprise at all when you told me. It was like looking up and seeing all the real stars in the sky. Afterwards it was dreadful for a little while, wasn't it? Karen held his hand for a moment to her cheek. When all the past had been looked at together, Gregory asked her if she would not marry him quite soon. He hoped, indeed, that it might be within the month. You see, why not? He said. I miss you so dreadfully, and I can't be here, and why should you be? Let me come down and marry you in that nice little church on the other side of the village as soon as our bonds can be called. But for the first time a slight anxiety showed in her eyes. I miss you dreadfully too, she said, but you forget, Tante will not be back till July. We must wait for Tante, Gregory. We are in May now. It is not so far to July. You will not mind too much? He felt, sitting under the arch of blessings as he was, that it would be most ungrateful and inappropriate to mind. But then, he said, if they must put it off like that, Karen would have to come to London. She must come and stay with Betty. And get your trousseau. This was a brilliant idea. You'll have to get your trousseau, you know, and Betty is an authority on clothes. "Oh, but clothes, I never have clothes in that sense," said Karen. "A little seamstress down here makes most of them, and Louise helps her sometimes if she has time. Tante gave me £20 before she went away. Would £20 do for a trousseau?" "Betty would think £20 just about enough for your gloves and stockings, I imagine," said Gregory. "And will you expect me to be so luxurious? You are not rich. We shall not live richly?" "I am not at all rich, but I want you to have pretty things, layers and layers of the nice, white, soft things brides always have, and a great many new hats and dresses. Couldn't I give you a little tip to begin the trousseau?" "Ah, it can wait, can't it?" said Karen easily. "No, you can't give me a tip. Tante, I am sure, will see that I have a nice trousseau. She may even give me a little dot when I marry. I have no money at all, not one penny, you know. Do you mind?" "I'd far rather have you without a penny, because I want to give you everything. If Tante doesn't give you the little dot, I shall." Karen was pondering a little seriously. "I don't know what Tante will feel since you have enough for us both. It was when she wished me to marry Franz that she spoke of a dot. And Franz is of course very poor, and has a great family of brothers and sisters to help support. You will know Franz one day. You did not speak very nicely of Franz that time, you know. That was another reason why I thought you were so angry." "And it made me angry too," said Karen, smiling at him. "Wasn't I nice? I am sure Franz is." "Oh, so good and kind and true, and very talented. And his mother would be a wonderful musician, if she had not so many children to take care of. That has harmed her music. And she too is a golden-hearted person. She used often to help me with my dresses. Do you remember that little white silk dress of mine?" "Perhaps so. I wore it at the concert. Such a pretty dress, I think. Frau Lippheim helped me with that. She and a little German seamstress in Leipzig. I see us now, all bending over the rustling silk, round the table with the lamp on it. We had to make it so quickly. Tante had sent for me to come to her in Vienna, and I had nothing to wear at the great concert she was to give. We sat up till 12 to finish it. Franz and Lotta cooked our supper for us, and we only stopped long enough to eat. Dear Frau Lippheim, some day you will know all the Lippheims." He listened to her with dreamy, amused delight, seeing her bending in the ugly German room over the little white silk dress, and only vaguely aware of the queer figures she put before him. He had no inclination to know Franz and his mother, and no curiosity about them. But Karen continued. "That is the only thing I can give you," she said, reflecting. "You know so few artists, don't you? So few people of talent. As to people, your life is narrow, isn't it so? I have met so many great people in my life, first through my father and then through Tante. Painters, poets, musicians. You will probably know them now, too. Some of them certainly, for some are also friends of mine. Strepoff, for example. Oh, how I shall like you to meet him. You have read him, of course, and about his escape from Siberia and his long exile." "Strepoff? Yes, I think so. A dismal sort of fellow, isn't he?" Gregory's delight was merging now in a more definite amusement, tinged, it may be confessed, with alarm. He remembered to have seen a photograph of this celebrity, very turbulently haired, and very fixed and fiery of eye. He remembered a large bare throat and a defiant necktie. He had no wish to make Strepoff's acquaintance. It was quite enough to read about him in the magazines and admire his exploits from a distance. "Dismal," Karen had repeated, with a touch of severity. "Who would not be after such a life?" "Yes, he is a sad man, and the thought of Russia never leaves him. But he is full of gaiety too. He spent some months with us 2 years ago at the Italian lakes, and I grew so fond of him. We had great jokes together, he and I. And he sometimes writes to me now, such teasing, funny letters. The last was from San Francisco. He is giving lectures out there, raising money, for he never ceases the struggle. He calls me Liebchen. He is very fond of me." "What do you call him?" Gregory inquired. Just Strepoff. Everybody calls him that. Dear Belot, too," Karen pursued. "He would not fail to interest you. Perhaps you have already met him. He has been in London." "Belot? Does he write poetry?" "Belot is a painter, a great painter." "Surely you have heard of Belot?" "Well, I'm afraid that if I have, I've forgotten. You see, as you say, I live so out of the world of art." "Did you not see his portrait of Suzanne Maret, the great French actress? It has been exhibited through all the world." "Of course I have. Belot, of course. The impressionist painter. It looked to me, I confess, awfully queer, but I could see that it was very clever." "Impressionist? No. Belot would not rank himself among the impressionists, and he would not like to hear his work called clever. I warn you of that. He has a horror of cleverness. It was not a clever picture, but sober, strange, beautiful. Well, I know Belot and his wife quite intimately. They are great friends of the Lippheims too, and call themselves the Franco-Prussian Alliance. Madame Belot is a dear little woman. You must have often seen his pictures of her and the children. He has numbers of children and adores them. La petite Margot is my special pet, and she always sends me a little present on my birthday. Madame Belot was once his model," Karen added, "and is quite du peuple. And I believe that some of his friends were sorry that he married her, but she makes him very happy. That beautiful nude in the Luxembourg by Chantefoy is of her, long before she married, of course. She does not sit for the ensemble now, and indeed I fear it has lost all its beauty, for she is very fat." "It would be nice to go to Paris on our wedding tour and see the Belots," said Karen. Gregory made an evasive answer. He reflected that once he had married her, it would probably be easy to detach Karen from these most undesirable associates. He hoped that she would take to Betty. Betty would be an excellent antidote. "And you think your sister-in-law will want me?" said Karen, when he brought her from the Belots back to Betty. "She doesn't know me." "She must begin to know you as soon as possible. You will have Mrs. Forrester at hand, you see, if my family should oppress you too much. Barring Betty, who hardly counts as one of them, they aren't interesting, I warn you." "I may oppress them," said Karen, with the shrewdness that often surprised him. "Who will they take refuge with?" "Oh, they have all London to fall back upon. They do nothing when they're up but go out. That's my plan, that they should leave you a good deal when they go out, and leave you to me." "That will be nice," said Karen. "But Mrs. Forrester, you know," she went on, "is not exactly an intimate of mine that I could fall back upon. I am, in her eyes, only a little appendage of Tante's." "Ah, but you have ceased now to be an appendage of Tante's, and Mrs. Forrester is an intimate, an old one, of mine." "She'll take me in as your appendage," Karen smiled. "Not at all. It's you now who are the person to whom the appendage belongs. I'm your appendage. That quite alters the situation. You will have to stand in the foreground and do all the conventional things." "Shall I?" smiled Karen, unperturbed. She was, as he knew, not to be disconcerted by any novel social situation. She had witnessed so many situations, and such complicated ones, that the merely conventional were, in her eyes, relatively insignificant and irrelevant. There would be for her none of the débutante's sense of awkwardness or insufficiency. Again she reminded him of the rustic little princess, unaware of alien customs, and ready to learn and to laugh at her own blunders. It was arranged, Mrs. Talcott's appearance helping to decisions, that as soon as Karen heard from her guardian, who might have plans to suggest, she should come up to London and stay with Lady Jardine. Mrs. Talcott, on entering, had grasped Gregory's hand and shaken it vigorously, remarking, "I'm very pleased to see you back again." "I didn't tell Mrs. Talcott anything, Gregory," said Karen, "but I am sure she guessed." "Mrs. Talcott and I had our understandings," said Gregory, "but I'm sure she guessed from the moment she saw me down here. She was much quicker than you, Karen." "I've seen a good many young folks in my time," Mrs. Talcott conceded. Gregory's sense of the deepened significance in all things lent a special pathos to his conjectures to-day about Mrs. Talcott. He did not know how far her affection for Karen went, and whether it were more than the mere kindly solicitude of the aged for the young. But the girl's presence in her life must give at least interest and colour, and after Mrs. Talcott had spoken her congratulations, and declared that she believed they'd be real happy together, he said, the idea striking him as an apt one, "And Mrs. Talcott, you must come up and stay with us in London sometimes, won't you?" "Oh, Mrs. Talcott, yes, yes," said Karen, delighted. He had never seen her kiss Mrs. Talcott, but she now clasped her arm, standing beside her. Mrs. Talcott did not smile, but after a moment the aspect of her face changed. It always took some moments for Mrs. Talcott's expression to change. Now it was like seeing the briny old piece of shipwrecked oak mildly illuminated with sunlight on its lonely beach. "That's real kind of you, real kind," said Mrs. Talcott reflectively. "I don't expect I'll get up there. I'm not much of a traveller these days, but it's real kind of you to have thought of it." "But it must be," Karen declared. "Only think, I should pour out your coffee for you in the morning, after all these years when you've poured out mine. Or we could walk in the park. Gregory's flat overlooks the park, you know. And we would drive in hansoms. Don't you like hansoms? And go to the play in the evening. But yes, indeed, you shall come." Mrs. Talcott listened to these projects, still with her mild illumination, remarking when Karen had done, "I guess not, Karen. I guess I'll stay here. I've been moving round considerable all my life long, and now I expect I'll just stay put. There's no one to look after things here but me, and they'd get pretty muddled if I was away, I expect. Mitchell isn't a very bright man." "The real difficulty is," said Karen, holding Mrs. Talcott's arm and looking at her with affectionate exasperation, "that she doesn't like to leave Les Solitudes, lest she should miss a moment of Tante. Tante sometimes turns up almost at a moment's notice. We shall have to get Tante safely away to Russia or America again before we can ask you. Isn't that the truth, Mrs. Talcott?" "Well, I don't know. Sometimes there's something in it," Mrs. Talcott admitted. "Mercedes likes to know I'm here seeing to things. She mightn't feel easy in her mind if I was away." "We'll lay it before her then," said Karen. "I know she will say that you must come." Chapter 14